It's time for Lefties Losing It. You know, I suspect the White House, or at least its social media team, may be watching the Rita Panahi show. We did a little segment featuring Christmas decorations under the Biden White House compared to Melania's work this year. And what do you know? The White House has just released this very droll before and after video.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
I mean, where the fuck should I really even start? I got hoes that I'm keeping in the dark.
It's becoming increasingly difficult to separate reality from parody when it comes to Lefties Losing It. If you told me there was a production about a transgender woman with a passion for coal mining who has to fight the patriarchy and entrenched gender norms to succeed, I would have thought, well, you were talking about some sort of Saturday Night Live skit. But it's real and it's on Netflix. This is The Queen of Coal. Really.
It's always been my dream to work in the mine.
Rodriguez, Carlos, on the ground.
They sent the baggage.
Do you feel safe in that work environment? I need a job, not friends. To them, I'm just another guy.
You're not a guy and you're not like them.
If you say you're a woman now, then you'll have to do women's work. And you know this company assigns different jobs to women.
It's not fair what they're doing to you.
No one can take away what you've earned, Carly. You earned it. It's yours.
I'm a minor, Violet. A minor.
Look, I'm just thrilled that we have Netflix celebrating fossil fuels, the mining industry that keeps the lights on. Bravo, though I do suspect there'll be some global warming narratives pushed in that production. Time to check in on the awful phenomenon that's affluent white female lefties who are at the forefront of just about every terrible idea in America and throughout the West at the moment. And not only are they, as a group, comically clueless, but their race obsessions make them utterly insufferable as well.
I'm going to be honest, I don't feel good about being white every day for a lot of reasons. Because it's a point of privilege that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members of the community don't get the privilege to do. And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman. If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege.
That's Democrat Sarah Stalker from the great state of Kentucky, and she's not satisfied with feeling bad about being white herself. She wants your kids to feel the same way. This is just gross.
When kids have a moment to reflect about how the color of their skin does and does not allow them to move through the world, running to them and trying to stifle that and trying to say you shouldn't feel bad, so we don't want to ever expose you to something that is going to make you have to pause and have maybe some internal feelings. It's a missed opportunity for some really good dialogue.
I'm going to play you a video now that could double as an ad for homeschooling. This is what 6th grade students in Maryland were exposed to. It's all about how to be non-binary.
We are actually going to be talking about tips for being non-binary. If you feel like a label will be helpful for you, then go ahead and attach yourself to that label, but don't feel like you have to stick to it. And you're able to change, you can evolve. I have had that experience myself in my own journey. You know, I did identify as straight, even though I never really was. I identified as bi for a minute, even though I actually was never bi. And then I identified as a lesbian, which is probably the closest terminology for my sexuality, because I like girls. And the non-binary thing also came around in an odd way.
And why stop there with the great advice? Why not tell confused girls how to bind their breasts, to hate their own bodies so much that they resort to painful binding?
General advice about binding is make sure you're being safe about it. Don't be wearing a binder more than 8 hours in a day. Definitely not exercising. The reason why I personally don't really wear binders that much is because of breathing. It restricts your breathing.
Restricts your breathing, but by all means still advise confused girls to do it. Just be safe about it. Restrict your breathing in a safe manner. And sticking with the excesses of the trans movement, here is California Governor Gavin Newsom.
We didn't get into trans sports. That's an issue no one wants to hear about because 80% of the people listening disagree with my position on this. But it comes from my heart, not just my head. It wasn't a political evolution. Your position being that? I don't think it's I want to see trans kids. I have a trans godson. There's no governor that's signed more pro-trans legislation than I have, and no one has been a stronger advocate for the LGBTQ community.
At least he knows that 80% of people disagree with him, 100% of sane people. That's the current king clown ruling over California. And if you thought Gavin Newsom was bad, just look at the Democrats looking to replace him, including this next woman, Betty Yee, who also can't see any issue with male bodies in female sport.
They are now part of, they have been through a transition, a physical transition, and I do believe that they should be able to participate. I think there's a lot of information we need to learn about what's really happening with the ability of trans athletes to compete. But my statement is about being able to be sure that they can compete. And right now,
but my question is whether you think they should compete in women's sport in the Olympics, because it's coming to LA, so it's relevant.
I think transgender female athletes are women athletes, and they should be able to compete.
Really?
There you go. Mediocre male athletes everywhere can look forward to gold medals in LA. Now, this next clip is incredible. Just the hysteria, the divorce from reality, the sense of entitlement. Watch this woman have a full-blown meltdown on behalf of a trans client who was misgendered by a law enforcement officer.
Hey TikTok, can you guys help me spam call the Mon County Probation Office in Monongalia County, West Virginia for being transphobic as I took one of my clients today to the probation office, and he is a trans masc individual, and he went back to do his drug test. And when he was back there, the front desk lady came out and said, she'll be right out. And I politely said, you know, he goes by he, him pronouns. And she looks at me and she says, she has a vagina, so she's a girl. And I was just like stunned. Like, I cannot believe that people are still saying this shit. Like, on the job. And then they wonder why queer people and trans people are not showing up for probation, not showing up for day report, not showing up for drug court, because they're misgendered and met with violent transphobia every step of the way.
Violence? Misgendering is now violence, and by misgendering I mean stating biological realities. Imagine how privileged you must be to feel entitled to harass folks just doing their jobs because they didn't play along with your delusions. Joining me now is documentary filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, there's plenty of drama around the sale of Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount has made a hostile bid to acquire Warner Brothers, and that's set up a furious bidding war with Netflix for the media giant. And now Donald Trump has had his say. He's very interested in what happens to CNN.
I just think that the people that have run CNN into the ground, by the way, nobody watches, very few people watch, I don't think they should be entrusted with running CNN any longer. So I think any deal should be guaranteed and certain that CNN is part of it, or sold separately.
Ami, what's your take on that?
Yeah, there's a lot. Look, Hollywood and the news media is changing. Obviously, you know this, I know this, dramatically. This is a massive deal, both in terms of the direction of Hollywood going forward and direction and control of the media, particularly news as well, right? Warner Brothers owns CNN. It owns a tremendous amount of cable channels, one of the largest, if not the largest, studio in Hollywood. And there's a lot of consolidation going on. Netflix came out of nowhere to make this bid. It was crazy. People were shocked by it. And then, of course, you had David Ellison and Skydance, who just consumed Paramount, coming in and going for a bid for Warner Brothers. So look, first of all, let's start with winners and losers. So for losers, yeah, one of the major losers on this thing is going to be Hollywood executives and the Hollywood elitist left, who will lose a lot of jobs, right? They're talking about $6 billion of synergy. What does synergy mean? It means people are going to be out of work. I don't think that's such a bad thing, considering they are so aligned against the Republicans and Trump. Winner, man, it looks like Barry Weiss might be cleaning up again. Barry Weiss, of course, the center, very center, Free Press founder, former New York Times op-ed writer. She was brought in to be the CEO of CBS News, which was a massive win, and not for conservatives, but for truth in the news, right? Simply not something that's non-biased is good for us, and that's what she is. She's not a conservative. She's not a liberal. She calls it, she sees it. Well, she may be knocking the door, being in charge of CNN as well. I think that'd be great for freedom in media, right? I think that also we have to take a look at the money that's being involved in this thing, right? You have Netflix. Between Netflix, look, by the way, it's also great for consumers because Netflix and Amazon control 20% of all streaming views. And as we know, streaming is where everything is moved to, if not has already moved to, it's only moving all of it to. Now I think between the combined Paramount and Warner Brothers, you're going to see more streaming competition happen. So, and look, the money being spent between those behemoths, Prime Video / Amazon and Sarandos and Netflix, they gave over $10 million to Kamala Harris. So again, I think anything that stems that power, that Hollywood liberal power, I think is a good thing. In terms of what we should be worrying about, look, I don't like that Trump is, putting his finger on the scale. I don't think that's helpful to a deal like this. I don't think he needs to talk about CNN. We all know the issues there. And the other worrying thing slightly is there's a lot of Gulf money involved with David Ellison and Skydance. Particularly, there's $6 billion coming from the Qataris. I never loved that. So look, that's where I stand on this thing. Overall, as far as I go, yeah, I'm on Team David Ellison. I'm on Team Paramount, Team Skydance. I definitely am not rooting for Netflix on this thing.
Now, Ami, the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erica, has spoken out about the many conspiracy theories surrounding his murder. She had this to say on Fox News.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus.
Ami, you've got the people who have no trust in the FBI, even though it's Kash Patel's FBI these days, who are looking at all sorts of different theories about what happened there. But Erica Kirk is also receiving vicious attacks from the left. She has been the target of vicious abuse as soon as she made the first statement after her husband's assassination. And among those leading the charge is Jennifer Welch. Here is her latest commentary on Erica Kirk.
This woman should be kicked to the curb. She is an absolute grifter, just like Donald Trump and just like her unrepentant, racist, homophobic husband was.
Ami, what's your response to all that?
Yeah, it never ends. Again, look, this is going to be this segment's going to be on the convergence of left and right, because you see these vicious attacks from both the hard left and the hard right. The despicable Candace Owens, of course, leading the charge like she has on so many different bizarre anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, anti-U.S. conspiracy theories. Yeah, look, she blames Charlie Kirk's assassination on prominent Jews, on pro-Israel movement, on the military, on Macron. She's got this weird fascination with Macron and his wife. I really don't fully understand it, to be honest with you. And this is really becoming a litmus test on the right, okay? The people who are fueling these conspiracy theories on the hard right. Look, Tucker Carlson, he gave what I thought was a horrific speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial. You were there, I was there, talking about Jesus and really kind of referencing the Jews killing Jesus and their involvement possibly in this killing as well. Yeah, it's really problematic, and it's from the right and the left. And the other thing that the right and the left are sharing is a distrust in institutions, and particularly the FBI. And you said, look, Kash Patel is a good dude. Kash Patel is a trustworthy dude, a transparent dude. A lot of people in the FBI have been moved there who I know personally, who I think are wonderful people. I think they're trying to be as open and transparent as they possibly can, right? Obviously, there's an ongoing investigation, and there's going to be an ongoing court case on this, and they can't be fully open to everything. But I think they're trying to be as much as they can. But again, it's this really fascinating convergence between the conspiracy theories of the left and the right, and they center around distrust institutions. There's an iota of truth there, right? Because there has been decades of mismanagement and failures among our institutions, the FBI, the IRS, the State Department. And I see where they're coming from, this whole deep state thing, and there's some truth to that. But when you control the levels of government, and when the right was complaining about the institutions on the left, I get it. But when the right controls these levers and you're still pushing these conspiracy theories, it really is an underlying issue of something far more problematic than just that and the politics of it. So I think this is very worrying. Look, republics fall when you don't trust the institutions holding them up, right? When you hollow those out, that's when countries fail. So I am very, very worried about it. And this Charlie Kirk thing, Erica Kirk thing is a litmus test, I think, for a larger problem.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Always a pleasure.
Joining me now is celebrity and royal commentator Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, we're going to get the Meghan Markle story out of the way first because we've got some political commentary from Hollywood to dive into, and some of it is surprising. But Meghan Markle has finally sent a letter to her father, Thomas, who is recovering in a hospital in the Philippines. Meghan sent the letter through reliable and trusted contacts, and it is said to now be safely in her father's hands. But Kinsey, why send something through the mail? It's been clear for some time that Thomas wants to re-establish contact with his daughter. He wants to meet his grandchildren.
I mean, it's one step up from an email, I guess. If my father was having multiple emergency surgeries and losing limbs, I wouldn't be sending a homing pigeon instead of picking up the phone or FaceTime and calling him. Just make a phone call, Meghan. And how are we supposed to take Harry and Meghan seriously going forward when they're at Invictus, cheesing it up and smiling and posing up a storm with these wounded veterans for photographers, when they can't even pick up the phone to call Meghan Markle's father? It tells us that this is all for PR.
I think you're 100% right there. This is a PR exercise. Now, Amanda Seyfried, she's an actress. I don't know if many of our audience would be familiar with her work, but she's refused to apologise for calling Charlie Kirk hateful. In fact, the actress has doubled down, telling Who What Where that I said something that was based on actual reality and actual footage and actual quotes. What I said was pretty damn factual, and I'm free to have an opinion, of course. Except Kinsey, she seems to think that Charlie's opinions were hateful, and I can almost guarantee that there is a large gap between what this woman thinks she knows and what the reality is.
Yeah, in her initial Instagram post, she alluded to the fact that Charlie brought this on himself, his murder on himself. No one deserves to die for their opinions. We can all look like monsters when we're taken out of context, and she's been in the media long enough to know that. Amanda does have a right to her own opinion, but she risks alienating half the country when she doubles down like this. Charlie's children are without a father today. How would that make her feel? She has children. There is no excuse for that, and her comments aren't helpful.
And she justified what she said by saying it's my opinion, and she's entitled to that opinion. But then she seems to think other people have brought on an assassination by stating their opinion. And if you think Charlie Kirk is hateful, the joyful warrior that he was, who was so polite and so kind, even in the most robust debates he had, I mean, really, you are existing in a parallel universe. Now, this wouldn't have happened a few years ago, Kinsey. We've got more actors coming out and endorsing Donald Trump. Have a listen to Kelsey Grammer, the man behind Frasier. He had a little jab at the Democrats' expense and then praised Donald Trump.
What I always love is when the Democrats start talking about affordability, you always know they're going to charge you twice as much and spend 3 times as much.
Kinsey, he went on to say some very complimentary things about the president, and we had Sylvester Stallone earlier in the week also making some very positive comments.
You know what? The UK is rapidly growing global production wise. It's stolen so much business from Hollywood, and it's taken a significant amount of work away from LA. Home Alone 2's Donald Trump does love and appreciate Hollywood and wants them to get back to work. You know, it's our politics that have really put a lot of these actors and actresses out of work. Thank you, Governor Gavin Newsom. Trump's even reportedly pushed Paramount to greenlight Rush Hour 4. Maybe we'll hear more stars that miss when America dominated the TV and movie industry speak out in support of the president. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fascinating because there definitely is a bit of a cultural shift. These are just comments that wouldn't have been made 4 years ago or even during that first term. Now to Gwen Stefani, the singer-songwriter, she's been under attack for partnering with a prayer app that is not pro-abortion. Who could have thought that a prayer app would not be pro-abortion, Kinsey? She's a Christian woman. Is she expected to endorse pro-abortion apps? What's the issue here?
Exactly. Gwen Stefani doesn't even endorse anything but prayer and meditation throughout these social media posts. Jack Nicholson is pro-life, Kelsey Grammer, who we just spoke about, Justin Bieber, and none of those people have ever shoved that opinion down our throats like the other side. At Christmas, we celebrate a baby sent to save us. That's the reason for the season. So why should personal faith be treated like a controversy?
Now let's talk about the Met Gala. Beyonce, Nicole Kidman and Venus Williams have been unveiled as the co-chairs for the 2026 Met Gala. The 3 stars have been tapped to work with industry icon Anna Wintour on next year's event. And Kinsey, the theme is going to be costume art and a celebration between the intersection of the human body and art. It sounds terribly pretentious already.
Sounds a little slutty. You know, Nicole Kidman, I'm going to say, is the standout star here. We love Nicole Kidman, but I feel like the Met has taken such a deep decline. And let me just predict right here on your show, this is the first time I'm saying this, Meghan Markle has been trying to make nice with Vogue for favorable coverage and to secure a ticket to the Met Gala with Beyonce on board. That's a realistic option for her. Once the Met Gala goes rent-a-prince and jamfluencer, it becomes completely irrelevant. The Met dumpster fire, more like it.
Surely she can get a ticket to that. I mean, everyone seems to be getting a ticket these days. I don't think that's going to be much of a coup for her. Laura Sanchez Bezos is going to be the lead sponsor of the 2026 Met Gala. I guess you can do that after you marry one of the richest men in the world. But has the whole thing kind of lost its luster already?
It has. I mean, the ultimate objective originally was to secure some of America's fiercest art dealers and art connoisseurs, and it's now just full of influencers, TikTokers, and Kardashians. So it's not what it once was, but it does seem to be taking an even steeper decline lately. You know, you don't see even couture. It just feels like a silly costume contest.
I think it jumped the shark when AOC attended. Remember, I think she had Tax the Rich or something like that on her dress. So I think right then and there, the Met Gala completely lost its luster, jumped the shark, and we really couldn't care less. Though every now and then there's an outfit that is stunning. Kinsey Schofield, we always appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time tonight.